I want to read to you just a couple of things, very important. Moshiach had said it was necessary for the Bar Enosh, Rabbi Melech Moshiach, Daniel 7:13-14, to suffer much and to be rejected by the Ziknei Ha'am and the Rashi HaKohanim and Sofrim, and to be killed, and after his Histalkus, on Yom HaShalishi, to undergo the Techias HaMoshiach. And that was the first time that he told them while he was in the Galil. Then, a little bit later, he said, and having taken the 12 aside in a Yehidus, he said to them, Hine, we are making another aliyah, another aliyah l'regel, another pilgrimage to Yerushalayim, and all the things having been written by the Nevi'im. He's referring here to Isaiah 53, etc., about the Mashiach sufferings, about the Bar Enosh, Moshiach, will be fulfilled. And there's a reference to Tehillim 118:22. But he, that is the Bar Enosh, Rabbi Melech Moshiach, will be delivered up to the Goyim, and he will be ridiculed, and he will be mistreated, and he will be spat upon, and having laid the shot on him, they will kill him, and after his Histalkus, on the Yom HaShalishi, there will be Techias HaMoshiach. And then when the women came to the kever, and by the way, that word kever is found in Isaiah 53, they had an encounter with angels, an angelic encounter, and they were told, he is not here. He come, he stood up, Latihiyah, to come alive again. Have zikaron, have remembrance, recollection, how he spoke to you while he was still in the Galil, saying, it is necessary for the Bar Enosh to be delivered over into the hands of Anashim Hotiim, and to be Talui al Ha'etz. You remember Avshalom ben David, how he was Talui al Ha'etz, and this was in 2 Shmuel chapter 18, I believe, and after that, the Mevaser could run with the good news, but not until this event had happened, being hanged on a tree. And of course, you have that scripture about they will look upon me whom they pierced, and they will mourn for him as one mourns for an only son, the way King David mourned for Avshalom. And on Yom HaShalishi, to stand up alive again. And they remembered the words of Rabbi Melech HaMoshiach. When he had his final meeting, he told them, he said, I go, to prepare a place for you. He was talking about his stalkus. I go away. I'm going to prepare a ma'on, olam, for you. In my Father's house are many such of these, and I'm going to prepare a place for you. Now, I want you to look at this. I want to speak about the so-called discrepancies in the synoptic good news accounts in the Brit Hadashah. And I want to use this illustration, which is in many ways very true because it actually happened. One day I was driving. I had a Jewish passenger in the back seat, and I was approaching from 3rd Street, Avenue O in Brooklyn, and a Hatzola car with a volunteer ambulance person driving was going about 90 miles an hour. It was a rainy day. I couldn't estimate how fast he was coming, and he hit me. And he flipped my car around so that it damaged this car and this car. Now let's imagine that 4 police officers arrive on the scene to take police reports, which look like this. Let's imagine, police officer Matthew, police officer Mark, police officer Luke, and police officer John show up, and they start interviewing people. Okay, so I get interviewed and I give my account. Then the Hatzola driver, he blames the whole accident on me. After all, he had the right of way. Then this person here, Bill, we'll call the drivers Phil, Gil, Bill, and Jill. This person here, Bill, he wasn't there. His car was parked, but it was damaged. So his wife comes out and she starts telling everybody that she's extremely angry at these Hatzola speeding drivers, and she blames the whole thing on him. And then she doesn't mention me at all. Then Jill over here, she's at the pharmacy, but when she comes back and discovers what's happened, she also gets angry and speaks about the Hatzola driver and doesn't even mention me. Now, when the police write these reports up, they see certain discrepancies. And so this genius over at the police precinct, his name is Tovia. He thinks he's a genius. His family tells him he's a genius every day, and he looks in the mirror and tells himself that he's a genius. He throws the whole thing out. There was no accident. These discrepancies show that the accident itself can be called into question. Well, friend, this is really not true at all. Now, I want to take you to the Orthodox Jewish Bible here, and I just want to read. It says, then after Shalosh Shanim, 3 years, I went up to Jerusalem to get acquainted with Kepha, and I stayed with him 15 days. But other of the Moshiach's Shohim I did not see except Yaakov, he Rabbi Melech Moshiach Adonenu, and here there's a note which explains that both Shaul and Yaakov were unbelievers before the Histalkus. This is a word in reference to a Rebbe, such as Moshiach. It can mean rising or diffusion of the Elohut of Moshiach. It can also mean departure. But the point that we're making here is that Rav Shaul himself gives you a harmony. He harmonizes everything, leaving out the women's testimony, because their testimony is not given any credence in court. And where is this harmonization found? It's found in 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And basically, it goes like this. A group of women, these are the funeral directors, the FDs, they find that the body is missing. Which body? The body of Moshiach. So Mary rushes off to tell Kiva, etc. The other women stay in the garden. They see this angelic appearance. They rush away. They tell no one. Later in the day, they meet Yeshua himself. Then they tell the disciples. Then Peter or Kiva and Yohanan, they are informed by Mary. They come to the tomb after the women have left. They see the clothes. They verify that the tomb is empty. Mary returns to the tomb. She encounters Moshiach himself. Now, I had the privilege of sitting in George Eldon Ladd's class as he went through this harmonization. And I can remember very clearly sitting there in Pasadena going over this. But the disciples are still unconvinced. They gather together. Miriam of Magdala, she arrives. She tells her experience. That afternoon, there are some disciples who encounter Mashiach on the road to Emmaus. Then there's an appearance to Kiva. That evening, there's another appearance. Then there's a second appearance sometime later, including Thomas. Then in the Galilee, there's an appearance. There's one in Tiberias, and then the 500 brethren, 1 Corinthians 15:6. And there's a final appearance and an ascension. So, thank God for George Eldon Ladd, my teacher, and thank God for the verity of the Brit Hadashah.